Touch Dile everyone and welcome to Class 11 Biology. Today we shall discuss from Chapter 2, that is Biological Classification. So in this class we'll be able to understand the following topics. You'll be able to explain Five Kingdom Classification by R.H. Whitaker, explain the characteristic features of kingdom Monera, reason out why archaebacteria are able to survive in extreme conditions, and differentiate autotrophs, photoautotrophs, and chemoautotrophs, and describe the kingdom Protista, and describe four major groups of protozoa. Okay, so biological classification, what does it mean? It is the classification or grouping, or you can say it is the scientific procedure of arranging organisms into groups and subgroups on the basis of their similarities and dissimilarities, and placing the groups in a hierarchy of category. And we have already learned in chapter 1 the importance of classification. We know that it is very challenging to study each and every organism. So in order to study in an easier way, the classification of organism become essential. So organisms have been classified based on various criteria, and the first attempt to classify these organisms in a scientific way was done by Aristotle. Aristotle classified all plants into three groups based on some morphological features. The groups are herbs, shrubs, and trees. Likewise, he also classified animals into two categories: the animals with red blood, the animals without red blood. And after that, Linnaeus proposed two-kingdom classification, in which all the organisms are grouped under two kingdoms, that is, kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae. And this two-kingdom classification was not enough. It is not adequate because of certain reasons, like this kingdom classification, this system of classification, it did not distinguish between eukaryotic and prokaryotic organisms. For example, bacteria, algae, bryophytes, and flowering plants, all these are placed under kingdom Plantae. And in this, we have both prokaryotic organisms like bacteria and eukaryotic organisms like plants. So they were not separated. And second one is, they also did not distinguish between unicellular organism and multicellular organism. For example, again, Chlorella, Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, they are all placed under kingdom Plantae. And if you look at these examples, some of them are unicellular and some of them are multicellular. And the third one is, it also did not distinguish between photosynthetic and heterotrophic, or you can say non-photosynthetic organisms like fungi. So the green algae, which are photosynthetic, having a cell wall, and fungi, non-photosynthetic, also having a cell wall. Okay, so on the basis of the presence of cell wall, they are placed under kingdom Plantae. So they were far related, but in this two kingdom classification, what happened is the far related organisms are placed in same group. And next limitation is, there are certain organisms where they do not fall in either of the categories. And also there are certain organisms, again, they have a feature of both Plantae, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So again here it poses a problem. So because of which, various scientists have used different criteria to classify the organism into various kingdoms or classification. And finally, the most accepted form of classification was proposed by R.H. Whitaker in 1969. He used various criteria, and based on that, he classified all the organisms under five kingdoms. They are Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Afterwards, there is again a six kingdom classification, wherein the kingdom Monera is split into archaebacteria and eubacteria. So under six kingdom classification, we have eubacteria, Archaebacteria, Protista, Plantae, Animalia, and Fungi. Okay, so these are the six kingdom or under six kingdom classification. So out of all these classification, the five kingdom classification is most widely accepted. So in this class, we shall focus on this five kingdom classification proposed by R.H. Whitaker. Before we go to the classification, let us try to understand the criteria he has put forward to classify the organisms into five kingdoms. The first criteria is cell structure. So the cell can be prokaryotic or the cell can be eukaryotic. So based on that, the organisms are classified. Prokaryotic organisms do not have well-defined nuclear membrane. Okay, they do not have nuclear membrane, and they also do not have the membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, chloroplast. Whereas in the case of eukaryotic organism or eukaryotic cell, they have well-defined nucleus, okay, enclosed by double-layered nuclear membrane. They also possess membrane-bound organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, mitochondria, and chloroplast. So based on whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic, the organisms are classified. And second criteria is body organization. An organism can be unicellular, an organism can be multicellular. So they are again classified into two groups. And if it is multicellular, again, they are further classified on the basis of their body organization. Like, okay, the organism can be at the cellular level, or it can be a tissue level or tissue system. Okay, tissue, organ system. Okay, so based on that, again, they are classified further. And third one is mode of nutrition. So the mode of nutrition are like autotrophic and heterotrophic. So based on that, again, organisms are classified. And fourth one is reproduction. Reproduction can take place by sexual means as well as asexual means. So there are certain organisms which do not undergo sexual reproduction. Okay, so again, based on this, the organisms are classified. And the fifth criteria is very important, that is phylogenetic relationship. So he took into consideration the evolutionary relationship between those organisms and placed them accordingly. Okay, he made sure that the organisms which are from common ancestor, okay, they are placed in a same category or same group. Okay, so let us look at the five kingdom classification. All the organisms here are classified based on the type of cell, that is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So the prokaryotic, as discussed, they are the one without nuclear membrane. Okay, and all the prokaryotic organisms are placed under kingdom Monera. Okay, so the example here is all the bacteria. Monera consists of all the bacteria, and all the bacteria are prokaryotic and unicellular. Okay, and now rest, eukaryotic organism. And these eukaryotic organisms are further classified on the basis of body organization. The first one is they divide it based on the number of cells. Okay, this organism, unicellular, eukaryotic unicellular organisms are placed under kingdom Protista. And then we are left with multicellular organism. These multicellular are further classified based on the presence or absence of cell wall. Okay, so the organism with cell wall, okay, eukaryotic multicellular organism with cell wall, eukaryotic multicellular organism without cell wall. Okay, so two categories are there, and the one which is without cell wall are placed under kingdom Animalia. Okay, and now again here, the group of organism, that is group of eukaryotic multicellular organism with a cell wall, are further classified based on their mode of nutrition. The phototrophs and heterotrophs. Organism photoautotrophs or phototrophic are placed under plantae kingdom, and heterotrophic ones are placed under kingdom Fungi. So this is how R.H. Whitaker classified the organisms into five kingdoms. So let us talk about each one of kingdom in detail. First is Monera. Kingdom Monera, it occurs almost everywhere. It occurs in unfavorable, or you can say extreme condition also. It is present in air, water, land, soil, ice, or hot spring. Okay, so these group are present everywhere. And bacteria are the sole member of Kingdom Monera. And these Monera, of course, they are the member of the Monera are unicellular and prokaryotic. And as already discussed, since they are prokaryotic, they lack the nuclear membrane and other membrane-bound organelles. But they have organelles like ribosome. The ribosome here is 70S. And this bacteria has a plasma membrane which is further covered by cell wall, and cell wall is again covered by a layer called as capsule. And this organism may have a projection called as pilus. You can see number of pilus here, and they also have a long whip-like structure called as flagellum. The number and distribution of flagellum varies from species to species. And talking about their mode of nutrition, they can be photosynthetic or they can be chemosynthetic. Okay, photoautotrophic or chemoautotrophic. But most of them are heterotrophs. They are either parasites living on animals and plants, or it can be saprophytes living on dead and decaying matters, and they form the decomposers. And this bacteria, again, if you classify the bacteria on the basis of their shapes, we have 4 categories. Bacteria, the shape is, when the shape is rod shape, we call them as bacilli. And if the shape is spherical, we call them as cocci. And if it is spiral shape, we call them as spirilla. And if it is comma shape, then it is vibrio. Okay, so again here you can look at the broad classification of Monera. These Monera are classified into 2 categories, that is eubacteria, that is true bacteria, and archaebacteria, which is a primitive bacteria. So we shall talk about each one of them. Let us first talk about archaebacteria. So archaebacteria are those bacteria which are able to live in a very harsh, very extreme condition. And they are able to do so because of a special structure of the cell wall. And these bacteria, of course, they are unicellular and prokaryotic. And we have 3 groups of such archaebacteria. First one is methanogen. These are the group of bacteria which are found in marshy area, and they are responsible for production of methane gas. This methanogen is also present in the stomach, or you can say guts, of ruminant cattle like cows and buffalo. That is why in their dung, that is in cow dung, methanogens are present, and when you use this methanogen in the biogas plant, we get biogas because of the presence of this methane produced by methanogen. Now next is halophiles. Halophiles are those bacteria which live in a very high concentration of salt. Next, thermoacetophile. Thermoacetophile are the group of, again, bacteria, archaebacteria, which can survive in a very high temperature, around 100 degrees Celsius. They are found in hot spring. They are also found in highly acidic condition. The example is Thermus aquaticus. Next is eubacteria. Eubacteria again are unicellular prokaryotic organism having a rigid cell wall, and they have a genome, and they also have an extracircular DNA called as plasmid. These eubacteria can be autotrophs, that is, okay, autotroph, it can be photoautotrophs or photosynthetic autotrophs or chemosynthetic autotroph. So let us first look at photosynthetic autotrophs. Those photosynthetic autotrophs consist of cyanobacteria, or we can call it as blue-green algae. And these cyanobacteria can this one be found as a unicellular, or it can be found in group. So if it is found in group, again it is in the form of colonial or in the form of filamentous structure, thread-like structure here. And these cyanobacteria are covered by mucilaginous sheath. So you can see here mucilaginous sheath over here in this colonial form and also in this filamentous form. These cyanobacteria contain chlorophyll A pigment, which is also present in higher plants. They are able to do photosynthesis. They are able to synthesize their own food by capturing the solar energy. And another specialty about this group of bacteria is that they have the ability to track the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, because they have a special cell called as heterocyst here. This is a thick wall cell here, heterocyst, and heterocyst you can find here. And this example is a nostoc, and this is Anabaena. So in both the case you find heterocyst. So this heterocyst can fix the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, that is why the farmers, okay, growing paddy, they cultivate these nostocs and Anabaena in the paddy field so that they can fix atmospheric nitrogen and enrich the soil, okay, in nitrogen. Now when they grow in water body, of course they grow in water body, and when the rate of reproduction is very fast, it form a bloom. Usually they grow in a polluted water. So here in this picture you can see algal bloom here. Next is chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. So chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria are again autotrophic. They can prepare their own food. But what they do is these bacteria oxidize various inorganic substances such as nitrate, ammonia, nitrite, and use the released energy for ATP production. Okay, for example, Nitrobacter species and Nitrosomonas species. So these two species of bacteria are engaged or involved in nitrogen cycle. So these microbes helps in recycling of nutrients like nitrogen here. Likewise, there are various other bacteria which also helps in the nutrient cycling of phosphorus, iron, and sulfur. Next, the major part of the bacteria, okay, they are decomposers, they are heterotrophs, and they are also involved in the formation of curd. The bacteria responsible for the formation of curd, okay, that is we called it as lactic acid bacteria. This is the one. And then again certain other group of bacteria, they cause diseases in plant as well as animals. So one example here is cholera, which cause disease in human. And then again this is a disease, citrus canker in the citrus fruit, caused by bacteria. And then there are other group of bacteria which have learned or which have become a symbiont or which have formed a symbiotic relationship with root of higher plant. So here the example is Rhizobium. So Rhizobium is a bacteria which live in symbiotic association with the root of leguminous plant. Leguminous plant are those plant which we call them as pulses. So in this root you can find root nodules, and in these root nodules this Rhizobium resides. So what this does is this Rhizobium will fix the atmospheric nitrogen and enrich the plant with nitrogen, so that nitrogen can be absorbed by the plant and plant can do photosynthesis, and in return they obtain nutrition from the plant. So that is the symbiotic relationship, that is mutualism. Now talking about the reproduction in bacteria. Reproduction in bacteria takes place by binary fission, spore formation, and conjugation. Binary fission is a method in which individual bacteria, it divides into two and form two new individual here. And spore formation usually occurs under unfavorable condition. And conjugation is a primitive form of genetic exchange mechanism found in bacteria. So here in this bacteria you find this is a genome, a main genome, and this you can find is circular DNA. This is a circular extra chromosomal circular DNA, and here it is in this donor it is present and this is recipient here. This circular DNA is absent. Now what's happening is that pillars they form a bridge between two bacteria, and then this genetic material plasmid is transferred from donor to the recipient. Okay, so this is how the reproduction takes place in bacteria. Now next is we have another group of bacteria where they lack cell wall, and such a group of organism bacteria we call them as mycoplasma, and mycoplasma are considered to be the smallest living cell known, and they can survive without oxygen, and they are known to cause disease in plant and animal. Earlier they were called as PPLO, pleuropneumonia-like organism. Okay, our next topic, that is our next kingdom, is Protista, kingdom Protista. So if you talk about its general characteristic features, this kingdom consists of unicellular and eukaryotic organism. And since it is eukaryotic organism, they have a well-defined nucleus with a nuclear membrane around it, and other membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi bodies, and endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, and they are primarily aquatic. And these varieties of organism placed in Protista, they show a link with the other plants, animals, and fungi. And some of these Protista have cilia, and some of them have flagella. And talking about the reproduction, both sexual and asexual reproduction is found. The Protista are classified into chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime mold, and protozoa. So let us again talk about these one by one. The first one is chrysophytes. So these chrysophytes includes diatoms and golden algae, and these are photosynthetic, and they are found in marine as well as freshwater, and these are the microscopic organisms found on the surface of water, and they are also called as plankton. The speciality about this particular group of Protista, is that the cell wall overlap to fit together like a soap box. Okay, and the cell wall has a deposition of silica, and this makes the cell wall very tough and indestructible. When they die, they lie at the bottom, and in the bottom there is accumulation of this cell wall, and it forms diatomaceous earth. And since these diatomaceous earth are gritty, they are used in polishing, filtration of oil, and syrups. Next, dinoflagellates. Dinoflagellates are again unicellular, and it has two flagella, so called as biflagellate. So the flagella, we have a longitudinal flagella here and a transverse flagella here, and they are usually marine and photosynthetic. They contain the pigment which help them to undergo photosynthesis. And these organisms, depending upon the major pigment, they have different colors. For example, Gonilax, because of the presence of red pigment here, and when they multiply at a very rapid rate, then it will lead to appearance of red color in the sea, and we call them as tide, red tide. So red tide is because of the rapid multiplication of this Gonilax, that is dinoflagellates, and these number of dinoflagellates release a toxin chemical, and this toxin chemical can be lethal to marine organism like fish. Next is euglenoid. Euglenoids are found in stagnant fresh water, and this euglenoid, instead of cell wall, they have a proteinaceous layer called as pellicle, and which is why the body is flexible in them. And these euglena have two flagella, one long and one short. They are usually photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight, but in the absence of sunlight, they become predator. So that is the speciality here. It shows the characteristic of both plant and animal. And the pigment present in the euglenoid are identical to those present in higher plants. Next is slime mold. Slime molds are the saprophytes protist, which feeds on dead and decaying twigs or logs or leaves. Under favorable condition, when the condition is very good, then they form an aggregate called as plasmodium, and then it grows and spread all over. But during unfavorable condition, this plasmodium get differentiated to form a fruiting bodies here, fruiting bodies, and these fruiting bodies will produce the spores, and spores has a true cell wall, and the spores are dispersed by air current. With the return of favorable condition, these spores will germinate and form again the aggregate, that is plasmodium. The example is Physarum and Fuligo. Protozoa. Protozoa again are the unicellular eukaryotic organism, and they show some features of animals, and they are again further classified into 4 categories, that is amoeboid protozoan, flagellated protozoan, ciliated, and sporozoan. Amoeboid. The example is amoeba. So these being the eukaryotic organism, they have a well-defined nucleus and other nuclear-bound organelles, and they are found in both freshwater and seawater, and they are also present on moist soil. In the case of case of amoeboid protozoan, which is found in seawater, they have a silica shell on the surface. The speciality about this amoeboid protozoan is that they have a protruding structure. Okay, the body shape is irregular, and the protruding structure is called as pseudopodia or false leg. And this pseudopodia helps them in locomotion, that is to move from one place to other place, and it also helps in phagocytosis, that is for the nutrition. And then there are other amoeboid protozoan which are parasite in human body, that is entamoeba, which cause amoebiasis in human. Now next group of protozoan are flagellated protozoan. Name itself suggests they have a flagella. It can be free living or parasite. So example is trypanosoma. This trypanosoma are parasite in human causing a sleeping sickness disease. Ciliated protozoan, cilia. These are the fine hair-like structure present on this organism. The example is paramecium, and these paramecium are very active moving and they are aquatic. And this cilia, the beating of the cilia helps in their locomotion as well as taking in of the food from the surrounding here. Okay, so there is a mouth gullet. So through this the food are collected from the surrounding. Next group is sporozoan. So sporozoan are the group of again the protozoa which have an infectious spore-like stage in their life cycle. And the most familiar sporozoan which we know is that of Plasmodium, and this Plasmodium cause malaria. Okay, so that's all for this class. So today what we discuss about the classification system from 2-kingdom classification to 6-kingdom classification, and then we focused mainly on the 5-kingdom classification which is most widely accepted. And these 5 kingdoms are Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Animalia, and Kingdom Plantae. And out of these 5 kingdoms, we discussed about Kingdom Monera and Kingdom Protista. Kingdom Monera includes all the unicellular prokaryotic organism, and they mainly includes that of bacteria, and which is found everywhere. Okay, and next kingdom, that is Kingdom Protista, it contains a diversity of organism, which for some scientists it may look like plant, for other scientists, that is for zoologists, it may look like animal. Okay, but the common feature in them is they are unicellular and eukaryotic. Okay, so we shall continue with the remaining topic in the next session. Thank you.